And that came off of a tube of glass that was about 8 feet long.
Oh, yeah, handed to Carol.
I got a little glass cutter that scores it, and I can break off little short sections like this for small ornaments, and a little bit longer for big ornaments, and a little bit bigger than that for these mini vases that I made. This steel table is called a marver, M-A-R-V-E-R, and it's just a flat steel top table, and I use it a lot. You can see when I roll that tube on it, by applying some pressure evenly on it, I can keep the tube on center, much the way a potter would keep a piece of clay on center when he's throwing a mug or a bowl or something. And you'll see when it gets hot, it starts moving around, and when it gets soft, if you've got steady hands, you drag the tip across the table and twist it up. So the pattern.
Oh, okay.
It makes a tighter pattern, yeah.
When you roll it, it makes it twist.
It makes that twist, yeah.
And because I held the tip down on that steel table, I kind of pointed it up. You can see the end of the tube sealed up.
Yep.
Now it's just a long bubble. You can also see on the other end, I think, I can't see it from here, but the colors are sort of bleeding out the end a little bit. I'm going to cut those off so they come to one point at the end. And I've got a special pair of shears that I use to cut these. They're called diamond shears. They're right there. They used to have red handles. They're sort of all grungy now. They don't have any diamonds in them, but the blades are like pinking shears, but instead of cutting in a zigzag or a curve, it just cuts down to one point. And I always squeeze off a little nipple here, and you'll see why towards the end of the piece. When I'm blowing on this, what I do is I blow on the end of the pipe and I cap it with my thumb. And if you listen, hear that little puff of air? Did you hear that?
Yep.
When I blow into the pipe, if I cap it with my thumb and trap that air pressure in there, and you got to be real quick, you got to cap it before the air dissipates. Yeah. It's a trick that you learn when you're training how to blow glass. That way I don't have to blow my brains out all day. It's really, you have to blow everything without using that little trick. It's very much like when you're blowing up a balloon, that first, just before it really lets go and starts filling up, is the hardest. And if you have to apply that much pressure on every piece that you're making, this is newspaper that's been soaked in water for a couple of days. So the glass actually rides on a small, thin layer of steam. See it expanding? Yeah. Now that little nipple that I squeezed off on the end will start to disappear. The reason I do that is because I'm going to blow the vase, and where that nipple was is going to be the flat bottom of the vase. And I want a little bit of a thick spot there because I'm going to affix that other pipe that I gathered a little dab of glass onto the bottom when I break it off the blow pipe. Are there any particular shapes you need today, June, or just vases? Mini vases. No, I don't think. Let me just double check this. I call this, when I make these mini vases, I call it three-dimensional doodling. I don't draw very well.
Yeah.
I mean, I can do a mechanical drawing, but I just sort of like, I can do a little painting, but I'm not much that way. So when you're doodling, when you're doing a drawing on a piece of paper, you don't know where it comes from. You just doodle. And I do the same thing with this. And I don't know where these shapes come from in my head, but they come from somewhere. And thanks, June. So right here where I'm squeezing is where it's going to break off the blow pipe in the end, right here. I'll make a little bottle out of this. So the three colors in this are white, that bright orangey red, and the pink, which is a ruby color.
Did they ever fall off in this?
No. I shouldn't say never, right?
Right.
When you're driving down the road, you ever run off the road?
Never.
Don't.
Not usually. Once in a while you can if you're like phone rings or something, it's a little disconcerting. But
Yeah.
it's the same thing. It's amazing when you think there's however many million cars in this country, and they're all going down these thin strips of paved acreage. And it's amazing that more people don't just run off the road, just by chance. And some people do. You see it happen from time to time. It's that way when I'm blowing glass. It's amazing when you're watching this. You see, like, how does it do it? Like I'm stretching the bubble out now, so it's a little bit taller.
Okay.
And it's like, who figured that out? Whatever. And I don't know. It comes naturally afterwards. It's like cooking. You ever see a short order cook cracking eggs? It's like I watch them and I'm like, they crack all those eggs and they do it one-handed.
Yeah.
It just becomes sort of second nature after a while. So right now, if you notice, it's very subtle, but I'm not going. All right, I'm not going all the way in. I'm just holding it in the doorway. I just want to get the very bottom of this pot, so that when I take a paddle and press slightly, I'm flattening the bottom of the piece out.
Yeah.
And that's where it will stand up. We want it flat, so. And just naturally, when you're pressing in with the paddle here, it becomes concave on the bottom, like this.
Yeah, I noticed
If it's
that.
convex, it'll roll around. It won't stand up straight. Let's give it one last reheat. So this one's going to be sort of a bottle shape. And I'm going to flare the top out so it's a little bit more vase-like than a bottle. But this is called a punty, which is an Americanized term from the word pontile, which is French or Italian for point. Get the tip nice and hot. And a lot of this is just, it's like cooking again, it's just getting the right temperature and timing there. So you don't want the bottle itself too hot at this point. You don't want the punty too hot, and you don't want them too cold. If they're too cold, they won't stick to each other.
Oh,
Yes,
cool.
right. And this is why I squeezed off that little nipple. I want it a little bit thick on the bottom of the bottle so that it's strong enough to take the punty. And now the piece is turned around. Almost always when you come into a shop like this, you will not see one person working like I do. You'll see a team of 2 or 3 or 4 people. And it depends on what you're making, but I've tried to design everything in here so that I can make it myself. There are a couple of things that Sayuri and I work as a team on. One are the rondelles in the window, those discs.
Yep.
They're thin enough that when I finish flaring them out so they're just a flat disc, they're on a punty and they're flat, perpendicular to the punty. They're very sensitive and they want to crack. And I put a little glass hook on a loop on the edge of them, and I need to put that on very quickly and get it put away in the oven before they crack. So she puts the loops, we call them hooks. Not really hooks, they're little loops that we can string them up with ribbon on the edge for them. But I've tried to design everything so I don't need to have that. I've worked with enough people, and usually when you hire a glass blower from somewhere, and I don't know what you guys do for work, but I'm sure you run into this. If you hire somebody, almost always they picked up some bad habits somewhere.
Yeah.
I don't mean like smoking drugs or
Yeah.
or something. I mean, there's enough of that. But I mean, they just, if you hire a driver or something, they don't use their signal, or they drive too fast, or they do something that's going to get them in trouble, or get you in trouble. And I found that when I tried to hire glass people. It's just, I have enough work. I could have 4 benches going with teams of 2 guys on each bench.
That's a good thing.
It's good to be busy.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just me and 1 part-time worker, so it's not like I'm General Motors and I've got a 3-year backlog. So But yeah, it works. We started 23, 24. I actually started gyms 25 years ago or so, and we've been here for 23 or 24 years, and it works. Somehow, people keep coming back. I thought we would make it 3 or 4 years and be done with it. So anyway, it's just a simple V shape, and every shape I make will be a little bit different.
Would you say your father did some of this? Or
You gotta speak up.
Did your father do some of this? No?
When my father comes in here, he just scratches his head and can't figure it out.
Okay.
Honestly, he can't turn a screwdriver. It's the funniest damn thing. Like when I go to their house, I'm always fixing the hinges on the cupboards or fixing something in their house. Just because most of the people in my family, I've got two brothers and a sister, and they're all, my oldest brother had a printing company and was very successful. My other brother is a doctor. My sister has a master's degree in writing. My father had a degree in chemical engineering, and he took over a small lab back in 1962 and grew it into a pretty big company. It was very successful, and he's taught at the graduate business school level in Chicago, and he's written books. He's a big But I think because I think we all, Paul and Kurt and I all worked on fishing boats when we were growing up. But I kind of kept that working with my hands, and I know how to build things. Like I build all the equipment in here, and I don't know, it works somehow. It's not easy, and I don't think we'll ever be as sort of financially secure as some of the other people in my family, but we're still here 20 years later, so. But he is creative. He was in the Navy, and he studied on the GI Bill. He went to Vienna and then to Fontainebleau in Paris for 2 years to study painting after the war. He's a very good painter, but he's also a business person. He's had a lot of financial success in business, but he does have an artistic side to him, and I guess in a way this is artistic. I think of this more, the stuff like the colors and the tubes and stuff, I think of it more as design work rather than artistic work. And for me, there's a difference. Make a different shape. If you guys get bored, I don't take offense if you guys want to go see the whales. I see this as more of a manufacturing process than an art process. There's art in it, and I think of myself more as an artisan than an artist. Having gone to art school for 4 or 5 years, I studied art history a lot, and I have a lot of ideas about art. I make art from time to time, but I think of this as more craft, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with it. And I don't